And I guess we're live. Welcome, welcome. This is our weekly edition of our Carvel community meeting. Today is the 28th of June of 2023. I hope you all are good. And if you're watching this as a recording, we encourage you to join us live. We meet every second and fourth Wednesday of the month at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Like, it's an opportunity to listen in to what the maintainers are working on and provide some feedback, ask questions, or talk about the tools in itself. For those that are here today, if you have anything you'd like to add please to the discussion, please feel free to add them on this section here of our meeting, and we'll try to get us through there to that point. If you aren't able to attend live and would like to reach out to us with questions or feedback, you can find us in our Kubernetes Slack workspace in the #Carvel channel, or you can email us. You can find our email on GitHub, or you have our Twitter handle as well, if you want to contact us that way. So when you attend to these meetings, we ask that you please read and abide by our code of conduct, which is linked in our agenda item right here. Well, there you go, right here. And you have our handle here and everything is there. Additionally, when you attend, we ask you to input your name and any organization you represent. This can be known, like, we're trying to understand like who's part of the meeting, and as you can see here, we already have a bunch of people heading in, so please add that to the meeting if you haven't yet. Like, for example, I didn't do it yet, but I'll do it in a little bit. Okay, so let's jump right away into our announcements for today. So since we last met, some things have happened. So there was a meetup about Kubernetes and 7 clouds, where Tiffany discussed a little bit about CAP and YTT. So the presentation is in English, but the rest is in French. So I'm sorry for that, but you can just pop in here and you can see the presentation right there. Okay. So for this week, I don't think there's like any talk or any blog posts. Does anyone know anything about?
Nope.
I guess that's a no. So, okay. So I do know that on the 19th, our friend Thomas is going to give a presentation on the Kubernetes days in Munich. Do you want to give us, shine a little bit of light on what you're going to talk about in that talk, Thomas?
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to present a few different tools from Carvel based on the use case. So the presentation is based on, like, we work with Kubernetes, what problem do we have, and how Carvel can help. So with real world scenarios, presenting a bit of CAP, YTT, KBIL, and then at the end, show how to put them all together with kapp-controller and package management. Yes.
Sounds good. Is this going to be recorded?
I hope so. I don't know for sure, but I hope so.
All right. So you can have some tickets here if you just join this website, and go from there. All right. Anything else upcoming that we should know about? All right. So let's keep on going. So the next topic we're going to talk about is hiring update. Renu, do you want to take that one?
So we had 2 recs which have been open for the past 2 months. Good news is we have made offers onto those recs. Let's see how they convert. And because so far, till the time they join, we would not know whether they are actually joining or not. We will keep searching and see if we get other candidates also. Unless there is, since if there can be a dropout in this case. So keeping fingers crossed, hoping that these two come join us as soon as possible. And we can take on more issues from the community. Yep, that's the hope.
That's great, Renu. Let's hope that they come to fruition and we have a little bit more help from the community. And nevertheless, like, you don't need to be part of VMware to help us out. So if you want to do like some coding, or if you want to do some like look into some tools, just let us know, talk to us. We are more than happy to help you to ramp up. If there's like anything that you are interested on, like you really love YTT and you want to learn more and you want to do things on YTT, just come talk to us. We are more than happy to help you out and to ramp you up on our tools as well. All right, so anything else? This topic, any questions? Nope. All right, so the next big topic for us is releases. So we haven't met for like, since was like the second week of June. There was like some releases that happened. The majority of them were just patching, like bumping Go version and so on, just to get us off some CVE versions and some bumping of some other libraries. Apparently there was one release for YTT that contains some features. I guess I can talk about it. So basically, whoever wrote this, that was I, could have add a little bit more letters there, but basically there are some issues with apparently bundles in multiple repositories that we tried to address. I don't really remember. This was so long ago, 2 months ago. We haven't released that a lot, but the main feature here is that we now add a new flag called preserve permissions when you're pushing an image. And that way, image package, what it did, it stripped out all the permissions, it only kept the user permissions. And when you were pulling image package, when you're pulling the bundle or the image using image package, it would copy the user permission to the group and to the all permission. It did this to make sure that there was like no strange like escalations or anything in terms of like permissions and so on. But there were like some cases where people were pushing images with image package, and then they were pulling the image using a different tool. So basically that tool didn't have like that little piece where it copied the permissions from user to both group and all. So in some cases it would not work for people. So if you're using like Docker to download, or if you're using like Crane or any other tool, that didn't work. So we introduced a flag called preserve permissions that will keep the permissions as they are when you're trying to push the image. So this should alleviate some of the problems. And basically that's it. I think this is like the major thing that happened. I guess that's it. Does anybody have any question about this release? To be fair, this is not like the latest. There is like a 37.1.2 as well, but it was just like a bump of versions. But the latest version is of image packages 37.2. But since we didn't talk about what was new here, I decided to bring that up. Is there any other release that happened that had any cool feature that any of y'all want to talk about?
Did we discuss the cap release that we did in the last committee meeting? Not sure. We had added a feature in that. Praveen?
I think we did.
Okay.
I added the K control stuff to the status update, so we'll come around to that.
All right. Sounds good. Okay, so nothing else on this section. Let's move on to the next one. So status updates and what's being worked on since the last meeting. I'm not sure, like, if there was any update on the roadmap. Renu, do you remember if there was any update?
No, it's still in my my local GitHub. I have not pushed the changes. I just want to update what we have worked on. I will push it. So the second one, which is enable kapp-controller to delete app when namespaces is deleted, is done. We can remove it from the roadmap now. The long-running performance enhancements, reduce CPU usage, we have done one part of it, and we'll probably do more changes in the coming months. So we'll keep that in the roadmap. Support omitting comments in resulting YAML is something I believe we need to discuss today. So let's see whether it stays in the roadmap. And we haven't got any proposals so far for the Salsa attestation for all Carvel artifacts. I'm going to push Thomas to see if he can help us out there.
All right, thank you, Renu. Okay, let's go through the individual tools, what has been happening. So does anybody want to talk about CAP and the long-running performance enhancements?
Rohit?
Yeah, hi, Joe. Hello, everyone. I can talk about it. So we have been reported that when there is too much load on the kapp controller, like when there are around, let's say, around thousands of FCRs getting reconciled, at that time we do see a spike. Not a spike, but we do see that CPU and memory usage of kapp controller remains high. Like it is in the range of I'll say around 3 to 4 cores for CPU, even if for each app the sync period is set to 10 minutes and they are not, the content which is getting fetched is not very long. It's hardly some KBs, right? So we set on a journey to see what is causing this spike on the kapp controller side. And so after doing some digging in, we figured out that it is basically happening because of kapp. So kapp is used as a binary inside kapp controller. So that is where we see that the spikes are happening for both CPU and memory. What we then we set on to do is some performance enhancement on the kapp side, where we try to reduce limiting the number of calls to certain functions, which has actually helped in in reducing the CPU and memory consumption on kapp controller by around 25 to 30%. But that still bring it down close to 2.5 core, but which is still high, is what we assume. We would like to see it somewhere close to 1 core or even less than that. But yeah, so a next step, as part of next steps, we have to again figure out because now what we are seeing is that we are actually seeing some spikes, like some highs and some lows. So we really want to make it consistent so that the highs come down. That should help us in improving again some of the performance. And then we also have to go back to the drawing board again and figure out what else can be done to reduce the CPU usage. Yeah, so this is with respect to that. So we'd like to hear from community as well, like if we are seeing these high consumption of CPU and memory on kapp controller side, does this change help you? The latest kapp controller has this change, so it should help to bring it down by 25% at least. Yeah. Any questions? Okay, Yeah, that's all from my side.
Awesome. That's awesome to know, Rohit. Keep on the good work there. We want to make this as performant as we can because people are using kapp-controller a lot. So that's going to be good. All right. So next topic, cap.
Sorry,
right now.
I wanted to add, this is also important in terms of some use cases where kapp-controller is used in telecom at the edge. And we would want to keep the footprint of kapp-controller as low as possible. So yeah, Rohit, great work there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Renu.
Yeah, it's good to point out that as well, right? Like there are people using kapp-controller like in very big deployments and people that need kapp-controller in very small deployments. So we cannot be like consuming a lot of CPU there or else we'd have problems. So great job again. Okay, kapp-controller, enable kapp-controller to delete app when namespace is deleted.
I can talk about this one. So like Renu mentioned, this is no longer in the proposal state, it's like done. So we actually decided to do it in 2 stages. So the issue is basically that if any namespace is deleted, which has a package installer or an appcr, it gets stuck because the service account that kapp would use underneath also gets deleted. And the reason we decided to do it in 2 phases is because there's no cleaner way to do this as of now. And in the phase 1, what we have done is basically take care of the single namespace scenario where the resources deployed by the appcr are present in the same namespace only. And we have also made a release with that change. And we would actually like want to hear back from the community that how much does this solve their problem and whether they are facing similar issues for multi-namespace use cases as well. Because if this solves most of the problems that the users are facing, we might skip on the second phase. Because like I mentioned, there's no cleaner approach.
Praveen, is there an issue created for just addressing the second use case, that is the multiple namespace use case? Do you want to separate it out? We can close out the one with single namespace and see if we get thumbs up on the second one also. We can.
Sure, I can do that. As of now, I had just updated the first issue, so I can create a second one. It was the first one.
All right, any other question for Praveen? Thank you then. All right, next tool, YTT. Varsha is not here today. I'll just give you my spiel about this. So supporting meeting comments in resulting YAML. So this has been one of the features that has been asked more from the community. They really wanted this. So what Varsha did was she created a pull request with a proposal that you can find here. It is linked. You can take a read on this proposal. It is somewhat, it's not like humongous, but it's a little bit big. So if you are interested in this topic of emitting comments on YAML, please join us next community meeting. That's going to be on the 12th of July. We are going to discuss this. We're going to try to get to a conclusion on what are the next steps, what are we going to do. So please go to that PR that you can find the link here add your comments, read them before the meeting, because on the next meeting we're going to go through this PR and through this proposal, and we're going to try to get to a consensus where we're going to go next with this piece of work. So again, if I didn't say it yet, please go to the PR, read it through, and leave your comments there. And join us next community meeting, 12th of July. Okay. Does anybody has any comment about this? Okay. Overall, Carvel. Signature and salsa attestation for Carvel artifacts. It is open. I do believe we have the person that created this issue here. Is there anything happening on this area right now?
So I'm available to help with this. I haven't done concrete proposals. I can work on that.
Hey, thanks so much for volunteering there, Thomas. Yes, it would be great if we could start off on a proposal on this as to what we want to do, what we want to achieve, and how do we do that. Soumik, if you can help out Thomas with getting this PR raised and whatever approved and all, maybe that would be great.
Also, like, worth calling out, it feels like this is something that could start off as a PR, and then we could think about if it deserves a proposal. Because Thomas, correct me if I'm wrong, it'll be like a consistent step in our release process across all the tools, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the first step is validating a strategy, and then the second step would be then applying that strategy to all the Carvel projects.
Right.
So maybe I can, gather some inputs and proposal here on this issue, and then we can discuss about, on GitHub, if it makes sense or how to improve it.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah, so I think like for this, it would be somewhat like of a lightweight proposal, where it's like, this is what we want to do. These are the tools that we can do it with, and we want to. This is what we want to achieve. Like, this is a problem that we're trying to fix. Like, so in some way, it's basically somewhat of what you have already here, and we just need to say yes to this, and then we'll go and find out how hard is it going to be to build all this.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
sounds good.
So by the way, we are creating proposals in our Carvel repo. In our Carvel repo, there's like a folder for proposals. Usually that's where we're trying to store like all our proposals. And I think it would be like a good place for here. A good place to put the proposal on, right? There's like some rough information of what, like the structure and so on. So all right. Okay. Anything else on this topic? Sorry, this topic here. Nope. Okay, so another signing and verification of assets topic. Who wants to talk about this?
I can probably give some context on that. So this actually stuck on me. I had actually reached out to Thomas asking if he could give some like inputs on the best way to do this, since he's been like playing around with signing Carvel artifacts. So if you recall, Joe, like a while back, you'd send me like a list of documents, both internal and external. So I do still have to boil them down and filter out like any internal stuff to sort of have a generic context. And then I was hoping to kick something off and get Thomas's inputs on it. But yeah, that's blocked on me. So maybe more on this on the 12th.
Sounds good. Yeah, we do have like some pre-work done about this. There's like questions that are open questions, like there's like an extensive research done on this as well. So it would be good if you could like condense that into a proposal.
Yeah.
And because this might be like quite of a big proposal, maybe we want to try to do it like smaller and then split pieces out of it if you want, because like assigning bundles and images and packages, like they feel like even though these two feel like somewhat similar, they do have their nuances on them. But like signing packages and package repositories, that's I feels like a little bit something that could be a little bit different scope. But just to get us kick-started here, maybe start with something like more simple and maybe small, and then we can grow from there.
Because like going bottom up makes more sense. Like maybe start with image package or window, and then image package actually, and then sort of build the layers up, right?
Let
Or
us
the other way
not
around.
add the tools yet.
I'm sorry?
Let's not add tools yet. Let's think
okay.
about like what does it mean to verify if a bundle is from a particular, like it was created by somebody? Like, what does that mean? Like I think more on that area than really, oh, I want to do image package minus, like verify minus bundle or something like that. Something more like at a little bit of a higher level, where we can just understand like, what does it mean to sign a bundle and to verify it? What does it mean to sign and verify a package or a package repository? Sounds good.
So you're saying like start off with bundles and then move on to kapp-controller stuff.
Not really. Just give me a second. I need to go to the door.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry about that. So like I was saying, we can think about bundles, but what I'm saying more is let's go. Like there are like different areas, but let's try to do it as high as possible, so we don't go like very specific on the tools, right?
Okay.
We can think about implementation and how we're going to do it. Like who's going to sign? Like who's going to be? Should it be Carvel? Should it be should it be image package? Who's going to verify? Should it be vendor? Should it be image package? I don't know. Like those are like, I think then we can start drilling down after we have a proposal of what it looks like to sign a bundle, what it looks like to sign a package, and so on. We can start drilling down like where would this functionality would make more sense to leave it. Sounds good?
Right. Yeah.
All right. So if anybody has any ideas or anything that's about this topic, just reach out to Sumik. Sumik is going to take a look at this. Sounds good? All right. Our friend, KCTRL, we now allow supplying values while building packages.
So that's me as well. We ran into this scenario a while back where folks were using kapp-controller to wrap Helm charts, right? And they were specific, they were packaging a Kafka chart, right? And now, depending on the configuration, the Kafka chart might pull in 2 images instead of 1. And the idea is that kapp-controller should have a flag using which you can supply certain values that's only used while building the package and then does not have any effect later on as well, mainly because you want your images to be accounted for by by the log file that's there, right? So yeah, that's essentially the enhancement, and yeah, that's it, I guess.
Oh, that's pretty cool, because like I remember like having to do some gymnastics to get all the images.
Yeah, exactly.
On a Carvel, like we were just like have a configuration and then have to run like Carvel multiple times and merge the files together. It was not fun. So this is a pretty awesome feature. Okay, does anybody have any question about this? No? All right. I think we can skip the backlog unless anybody has any pressing issue that they want to talk about the backlog. Nope. All right. So we do have a bunch of discussion topics today. So I'm going to start top to bottom. And if there's one that you really want to talk about, that want to pull it first, just let me know. Okay. All right. An alternate to SOPs in kapp-controller. SOPs is not maintained for a year. Security fixes are not available. PRs are not reviewed. And there's a link to a discussion here. Who added this?
Yep, I added this. And I think we were having this discussion internally also. So this SOPs has been, I think, recently donated to CNCF as a sandbox project, and they are still waiting to be onboarded. And hence, I think the new repos and all are not available. So internally, it is causing us some problems. So we have these CVs which keep popping up, and we would like to fix those. We have raised PRs to bump up the Golang version, but they are not getting merged because it is not maintained. So question was, do we keep SOPs? Are there any alternatives to SOPs that we can use? Or should we do something like a fork of SOPs and use it in the OSS version? And then fix the security fixes there so that kapp-controller gets those fixes. Or should we just wait some more time to see that SOPs, there are more maintainers who come in? How long should we be waiting?
So they already have an org in GitHub, but the only thing that they currently have is just a community. So I believe it was somewhere maybe like this week or something like that, that they were approved to sandbox. So they do still have to go through some of like the onboarding stuff from CNCF in order to get everything there. So this might take a little bit of time for us to be able to get like more responsiveness from SOPs people. I don't know. What do y'all think?
It might be interesting to see what other projects also relying on SOPs are doing in the CNCF space. Like I think Flux has some integration. Like if they share the same concerns, if they thought about something, if there's an alternative to replace it, or if it's gonna be okay right after they completed the paperwork for the donation.
On that particular issue, that is looking for new maintainers, I think I saw bump 2 days back. And I think Flux guys have also asked the same question. And it was donated 3 weeks back. Yep.
I do believe that this person is from Flux, right? So maybe we can reach out. I do know that they already have a channel on CNCF Slack. We can also reach out to them to see.
So what I can see is like Flux is also using the like Mozilla Go, when they also not using the fork or something else. They are also on the same version what we are on. So yeah, they must be facing the vulnerabilities thing. But yeah, we can check that how they are coming up with that.
So like, since our interest is primarily in like CV mitigation along with subsequent releases, I guess in the long run, we should probably reach out to them and see if we can like help them set up a policy like we have, or even some automation around it. and see if we can help in any manner, right? In the long run. Looks like this is going to take a bit, but
Yeah, something like Dependa bot or
Yeah, does anybody want to reach out to them to see like what are their plans and see if they have like any ETA for when they are going to do the migration? It doesn't look like they do, though,
Yeah.
by the looks of
but
this. So that's what somebody asked.
I can reach out if that.
I think maybe we can just wait like maybe until our next community meeting and see what actually happens after transfer. Oh, maybe they'll get some maintainers. I don't know.
I'm just gonna like swing by and ask if they need any help. We'll probably do that when if they have like a tentative idea when it'll go through.
So that push
Okay.
this to the next community meeting and see where we are at that time. Sounds good, Renu?
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for volunteering on that one. Let's see if something come off of that.
All right. Do we want to look at these triage issues here, or we want to go to other questions and then go back to these triaging issues? Does anybody have any?
I'd like the question because I put them in. But I'm not sure if someone put the issues in thinking with something in mind, so I'm fine both ways.
You're the only person saying something, then.
I put in the issues, so I would like to go with the issue trash first. But I'm okay with holding on to that. We can do that later too. Not a hurry.
Okay. These are actually quick questions. So it looks like in the first one, right? The CHDR one. It looks like in our tool set, we only have a CHDR attached with the tool in K-control and vendor, and that's because these create files based on where they're being run from, right? So someone I was working with recently suggested that it would probably make sense to do the same for cable, because the paths supplied to cable config actually depend on where you're running cable from. So they would like to have the paths enabled relative to the root of the project so that it makes more semantic sense. And they want to be able to like chdir in and then run what they need to. So yeah, I was just wondering if you have any thoughts on that, Joe, since you're the cable person.
I'm trying to think like the main concern with K-build is that K-build does some work, but it doesn't do the majority of the work, right? Like it does, K-build is an orchestrator of the building process, right? So it delegates to other tools to do the building itself.
Right.
So this could cause some problems on the other tools, like if you're providing that information in. I don't think it is like bad. I think it's something that we can definitely look into. So just throw an issue and we'll go through it.
Yeah, okay. It's more of a nice to have, I guess. Okay, so the second one is actually an interesting one. So the case here is someone's using K-control, right? And they've built images once. They would like to not build them again while running K-control the second time. However, let's say there's a cable config and the images lock is not being passed into cable. If the build flag is false, what does cable do? Like, is there any information stored? I think the information is just stored in like cable output, but like, yeah, I think that won't work because then cable doesn't know which image it'll be hashing, but I just wanted some clarity on that.
The answer is K-build does not store any kind of K-build information. right? Like some metadata of images built. So the only thing it has is the output. So I don't think there's a way for it. Like even if you run Carvel twice, to have some sort of caching. I do believe that like some tools might do some caching. I think like, for example, Pack might do some caching for you internally, but that's on the tool itself, not on Carvel.
Okay, so I guess the right path for K control would be to not allow disabling building and maybe have some way of having the image log file sticking around so that it can be used subsequently if it's around, right? Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Shall we go back on top? Renu. Annotations / labels to bundles. It's a pretty old issue.
Yeah, I bumped this because there was a recent bump on this one, and we just don't want to fall it off our radar. Do you want to take a look at it again, Joe? Looks like something that we can add to our prioritized backlog.
So I don't think there's anything. What does this look like? It is discussion. I don't remember why it was added as discussion. But I can go through it. Okay, so like this, like in here, I think we're trying to like solve like a different problem, the problem that this person was talking about. But the adding labels or annotations to a bundle, I don't think it is too controversial of a thing. So if we want to do that, I don't think there's like any problem doing that. We might have to look into like, what does it look like in terms of UX? Like how can you add multiple labels into it? And to be fair, I do believe that there's a PR for it, but yeah, I think there's a PR for it. But Joe talked to us and said that he was going to look into this issue, into the PR that exists, to see if they could or if they wanted to pick it up, because there's like a first attempt here, but I do believe that I requested some changes on it, that because it did provide like more or less the UX that we have. So I think it's something that we can look into. So yeah, it was creating like a set of labels and then it just provide like a string to it. But the PR didn't have tests and I did had like other comment to it. But yeah, so let's punt on this till the next meeting to see if Joe decides to take on this work or not. We can ping them in Slack to see if they're interested in going through it or not.
All right. Thank you. Do we want to change the triad status of this issue?
I don't know. And until I like read through everything, I don't think I'm comfortable replying to this. Why? Because I do remember like this was there's like some machine learning models and so on, and like this title here and like this description might not match correctly. So I'd like to keep it as a discussion for now.
Sure. Thanks, Joe. I'm okay with that.
Gonna jump on to the next one.
Yes, yep.
Flux controllers. What is this about?
Yeah, it's been there, and there's thought that we could idea to discuss this in our meeting.
Hey, Thomas actually had an interesting perspective on this. Like, does it make more sense to have a YTT controller? And I think some already exists in the community, right, Thomas?
Yeah, there's a linked issue that I don't know if it covers all of this, but basically Flux has, they call it a GitOps toolkit. So it's a framework that they use to implement different components in Flux, since it's very like distributed system, they're all standalone, you can use what you need. So we could use that to make a YTT controller that then would work within the Flux ecosystem to use YTT next to Customize and Helm. And also linked to a project I saw, an example of a project that did something similar, but kind of as a post-process step. So they use Flux just to get the Git repo inside the cluster, and then they pass the code like YTT overlays to this extension that then uses YTT as a library in order to parse the YAML and outputs the final manifest.
Neil, would you have gone over the other issue that is Flux controller? Sorry, I did see that you had marked it as trash.
Yeah, I think this was marked as trash a long time ago, just from the sense of that it was something that we wanted to look into, but I don't think we had gone much further than that, other than it being something we would like.
I think it's worth calling out that even the reporter seems to focus on Carvel templating Flux controller for a bit. So maybe they had similar intentions as Thomas. Like, I'm not sure what value we could add by maybe allowing Carvel packages to be integrated with Flux. Like, yeah, haven't looked into it, so I don't know.
Is this something that we've seen like a recent request for? We have some hearts here.
No, this was not a recent bump. However, I've seen that an internal thread, not on this one, but another thread internally, which was to do with Flux CD. So I thought that this should be something we could take a look at again. And it does say priority is important soon, and it's in a prioritized backlog.
Okay, so like, does anybody want to take a look at this more deeply? So we understand like what are the, like from here, is this something that we want to do? And if this is something that we want to do, like what would it look like? Or if it would make more sense, like to do something like what Thomas was proposing. I think it would be interesting for us to have like this discussion. but for that we need somebody that would be interested in looking into this.
So I'm interested in joining the discussion more on the other. Sorry, there's a lot of noise in the background here. More on the other issue. I think this one covers a lot of different things, but at least as a user, if I wanted to use Carvel packages, I wouldn't use them with Flux like I would use kapp-controller, but I could see a controller for YTT available in Flux as a way to get more users by working with YTT. Also, they recently announced a package management solution in Flux called Timoni. So I don't know how much would make sense, like to port everything and make it work with Flux. But yeah.
Okay, so does it look like that we have a lot of digging to do on this one?
Yeah. Could we roll it over to the next community meeting maybe? To like bring it along?
Next community meeting is going to be quite big, so I'm a little bit concerned that we will not have time for this, but we can definitely roll it for the next one. But for that, I'd like if somebody could just keep tabs on this, that would be great. Just so that make sure that we have something to discuss a little bit more.
What I can do is I can reach out to maybe try and find the folks who pulled up the community controllers and maybe chat with them about why they did that. And I guess the challenge is that we want to have an officially supported controller here. So I'm not sure if we'll be open to like adopting one, or I don't know how this works actually. I don't know if like
we need, let's like before we do the official hair quote thing,
yes.
we need to like understand, like, is this something that it makes sense in Carvel, right? Like I think that's like the first question that we need to answer. Does this make sense in Carvel? And after that, we can say like this makes sense in Carvel, and it makes sense for the Carvel maintainers to also maintain this. All right, so like there are like steps that we need to go through, you know, before we get. So like, for example, like the GitHub action is a good example of that, like where somebody built a GitHub action and like, oh, that's pretty cool. Do you want to come and you want to maintain it and we'll host it? And they were like, yes. And you're like, okay, that's awesome, right? But first we need to go to the steps and like, is this like something that we want to support? Is that something that us as the maintainers want to build, and then decide like when we're going to do it, right? So we need somebody to like shepherd this so we can go like through these steps as we go. If anybody's interested, it doesn't need to be right now, but reach out to me or to Renu if you're interested in shepherding this. Okay. All right. This is the first community meeting in some time that I recall that we don't have time to get to all the topics that we have to discuss, which is good and bad. But is there like any of these topics that it is pretty quick that you want to talk about, or can we just roll these up to the next agenda?
Yeah, so I wrote the first one there, and it's fine talking about it another time.
I put in the second one, so I think we can roll it over. And we have someone maintaining a Winget package for us in the wild, so I'll try and invite them as well next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I would like not to overload the next meeting.
Yep.
Because I do believe that the YTT, the emission of comments is going to take a big chunk of time.
Yeah.
Right. So, but definitely, or we can start that conversation also in Slack and see like where we go from there.
Yeah.
Right.
So quickly on the revamping of the website, I think Nancy was in touch with the CNCF folks to see if they can help us out to look at the website and see how it can be made better. I think we'll follow up with Nancy. She will have some news for us probably when she comes back on this one.
That's great.
All right, so I'm going to close us off. So thank you all for joining us today on this awesome Carvel community meeting. Like if you're watching from home, we'd love to see you. Love to get you with us so we can talk with you and you can talk with us and ask us all the questions you have. So if you want, we'll be here on the 12th and we'll be talking about YTT and the emission of comments. That's going to be like a pretty cool topic that I'm quite sure you do not want to lose. So join us on the 12th at 8 a.m. PST time. So without further ado, I hope you have a nice rest of the day or evening or wherever you are and have a nice week. So I'll see you all on the 12th. Bye.
Bye.